So welcome back. Today we're continuing our talk about where should you put your money. And this week we're just going to wrap it all up and just do a recap on what we have discussed on where to put your money. And we'll be focusing on what we have done for the last 3 weeks. So over the last 3 weeks, we talked about RRSP, we talked about TFSA and the cash value insurance. So Glenn, what I want to do is just recap and just highlight the benefits of each. Thanks for joining, Glenn, and welcome back too.
Thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure.
And for first-time viewers who is not familiar with Glenn, and if it's your first time watching us, Glenn is a financial advisor as well as an authorized infinite banking practitioner, and he offers customized services to help you be more efficient in your finances in your life, right? And he can help you with whatever questions you have on finances. If you have any questions, just remember, engage with us, put a comment in the link below, and we will get back to you as soon as we can, all right? So Glenn, so let's start. I think we can start with RSP, and then you can just tell me what you think about benefits and just compare. Tell me about the pros and cons of each. So let's just do a freestyle today.
Sure, okay. So let's start with the RSP, right? The most popular vehicle in Canada. People love it. Why? Because you get that tax deduction, right? We're going to assume that your normal job, you take off all the taxes that are necessary taken off. So again, it's 100,000, we'll use round numbers. If it's 100,000 in income and you put 10,000 in RSP, then your taxable income now becomes 90,000. So you have paid taxes for 100, you get a refund for that extra $10,000 worth of taxes, right? So you're probably looking about $3,600 back, and somebody's going vacation, whatever you use it for, whatever it is, that is what it does. It gives you that deduction. Now, the funds will also grow tax deferred. So there will be no taxes on any growth in that, right? So if that 10,000 grows to 30, 50, whatever, there's never any taxes on the growth while it's in there. Now, I'm saying specific words like while it's in there for a reason, because on the other end of things, ideally at retirement, every penny that comes out is taxable. What you deposited plus the growth. So you get a break in taxes on the seed, but you get fully taxed on the harvest. Just how it is, that's the program, that's how it works. Now, does that make it a bad program? I don't know. That depends on your situation, right? So that is where use is supposed to be customizable. How does this benefit my situation, or how does this not benefit my situation? That's where we chat about that. So you've got deposit going in where you get a deduction, coming out, you get taxation. Now, once you've also done that withdrawal, you can never get that room back because you have a certain amount of room that carry forward if you don't use it. But once it's used, that's it. Okay, so that is the RSP in a nutshell. The TFSA now, no tax deduction, okay, when you put money in, but you're using after-tax dollars. So similarly, your funds are going to grow in a tax-sheltered environment. In fact, this time I won't even say tax-sheltered, I'll say tax-free environment. And as they grow, you can access it whenever you want. Now that's a big plus over the RSP, is accessibility outside of retirement. Because similar situation, you make that 100,000, you put 10,000 in your TFSA, no tax deduction for this one. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, because let's say similar situation, you know, maybe you buy that hot stock, whatever the case may be, it goes up to 10, 20, say 50,000, and you go to withdraw all 50 or 40 of it, no taxation ever, right? But here's another plus that's not realized. When you do that withdrawal, let's say you withdraw 40,000, okay? The next year, you get that $40,000 room back, plus whatever the fresh room is for the TFSA. So that reminds me of one of the things that I missed with the RSP. The RSP has deduction limits. It is typically 18% of your net income. So how you find out your limit is to look at your notice of assessment when you do your taxation, and it tells you what your limit is. And then each year, typically 18% of your income going forward up to a maximum. And that's the room you have. The TFSA, everybody gets the same room. Okay, it started in 2009. If you're an adult in Canada at the time, it was 5,000 limit. It's now up to 6,500, right? So we have got, I just went blank, 81,500? Yeah, please. We're getting up there, bottom line. But as I said, as you withdraw this, if you've maxed out, then the next year you get that room back plus the new room for that fresh year. So it's a beautiful thing to use, fantastic tool, especially if you're going to be in and out. The key is knowing where you are so you work with someone who knows what they're doing. So, example, I put 75,000 in, right? Maybe it's at 90,000 now. I withdraw 75,000 and I realize, you know what? I don't really need 50,000 of it, so I'm going to put it back next month or a couple months from now. Because I deposited 75 and now I'm depositing an extra 50, and nobody in Canada as a default has 85,000 in room, anything over and above the allowable room will be subject to an over-contribution penalty. So you want to be very careful with that. Very flexible tool, but again, learn how to use it, right? And I use the analogy. You can chop down a tree with an axe or with a chainsaw.
Okay.
The chainsaw can be quicker, but if you make a mistake, you can chop off your arm or leg quicker too. So it's a tool. Use appropriately, right? So that's the TFSA, that's the RSP. Also, we talked about insurance.
Yes.
You use this asset to build up accessible cash that you can access, if done right, tax-free, while keeping the asset going and keeping the asset building. You have access to this cash based on your cash values and a certain percentage, no questions asked if you do it via loans from the insurance company. And it'll be another video we talk about why a loan instead of cash out. You could cash out, but depending on where you are, that might trigger some taxation. So it really, again, comes back to there's tools, but you should learn how to use them for your situation. So work with someone who knows your situation and who knows what you're doing, right? Or who can help you to achieve your objective in the most efficient way as possible. All right, so I'll get the question, which one of these should I use? I got people using all three. Some folks say, you know what, I'm not gonna use the RSP because I don't like that idea of limited access without penalty, and the penalty being taxation whenever you make a withdrawal, right? So let me give you guys an example. All right, let me give a live example. So let's say I sit there and out of my 100,000, I decide, you know what? I can't decide, Genese. So I'm gonna put 10 grand in all three for 1 year. Right? 10 grand in the RSP, 10 grand in the TFSA, 10 grand in the insurance, right? And I do that. And then a year later, I see an opportunity where I need 20 grand. And for my income next year, let's say it's all tied up so I don't have any extra. So my thought is, okay, what do? Do I take it out of the RSP? Do I take it out of the TFSA? Do I access it from the insurance? What do I do? Right? Well, let's keep it simple and say you just need 20 grand cash. Whether it's an emergency opportunity, doesn't really matter, right? But if it's an emergency, understand this, things are going to be worse if I take it from the RSP. Now, here's why. If I withdraw my 10 out of the RSP, I'm gonna walk away with 8 max. Why is that? Because there's a 20% withholding fee for withdrawals of 10,000 that the institution forwards to the taxation department, right? So I'm gonna get $8,000 in my hands. If I make the same 100, my income is going to be classified as 110 because I took 10,000 out of my RSP and that all came out as income. And if I paid taxes on just 100, now I owe taxes on another 10,000. So at 110 tax bracket, I'm gonna owe more than I did with what they withheld. So I'm gonna owe just over another $1,000. So So I'm going to minimum $3,000 back. So I'm technically getting $7,000 net for this year for that 10 grand that I had. And that's why I said it's a tool. Is it money that should be accessed right away? No. So let's skip over to the TFSA. Let's say I need 10 and I go, you know what? I'm just going to take the 10 out of my TFSA. What are my penalties? None. The TFSA is there as a use anything, anytime tool. Ideally for retirement, but again, for short and midterm opportunities or emergencies, doesn't matter. But the key is withdrawal will have no taxation. So I walk away with 10 from that category, right? Now with the insurance, let's say, without going into too much detail, let's say there's access to 6,000 out of the insurance. Let's say there's access to that because you still got to pay for the cost of insurance. So not all of it goes to cash eventually in the first year. But I can access, say, 5,000 out of that, but there is no taxation as well. There'd be a little interest, but no taxation. So if I needed that money, it would be difficult to get it from all three without exposing myself to taxation. I probably shouldn't have had it in the RSP if this is an opportunity I knew was coming. I probably should have just used the TFSA and then use the insurance, right? Or maybe in the short term, just use the TFSA and then in a year or two use the insurance. But again, you see where I'm going with this.
Yes.
There's different categories, there's pluses to each, right? Things happen, there's things we plan for, but things do come up. And what we want to do is make sure we structure ourselves properly. So we want to make sure that we always have access to cash in the short term, again, whether it's emergencies or opportunities, we have access to mid, longer range cash, and then we have money for later on. But we got to figure out for our situation, so not what your brother or your neighbor did, doesn't necessarily translate to you. For our situation, what makes the most sense? And that's where sitting down with someone who knows what they're doing to figure out how to structure your finances going forward to make sure it's the most efficient for you. I know that's a mouthful. I know I went through a lot.
That's okay. That's okay. So I have a quick question. I mean, not to put you on the spot, I don't need exact numbers. It's a percentage off the top of your head. What percentage of your clients are you finding are using all three? Just off the top of your head.
Good question. Okay, so it depends. There's an answer that everybody expects.
Okay.
It depends. Most clients have used RSPs and probably TFSAs already. So if I come along and show them the great uses of insurance, then we could technically say all of those ones are using all three. But if it's someone I'm meeting from scratch, like the last client I dealt with had already had his experiences with the RSP, learned the hard way that it's not an in and out tool, right? And decided, no bueno, I don't want to touch that. So with that person, what we did was we did the TFSA and we did cash value insurance because he decided that for his lifestyle, he's self-employed as well. So things can go up, you know how that goes. Income is never a smooth line like an employee. It can be feast and famine, right? And it's like riding a wave. So he decided for his lifestyle and his business, that didn't make sense because there's times when he needs cash and he's got to access it without being penalized hugely for it and also getting less than he wants based on withdrawal. So in cases like that, then he'd say, no, I don't want to do the RSP. I'll have somebody else though who has, here's another little twist. Let's say they have young children, okay, and they've got young children, depending where their income is, they may be in line to get a better child tax benefit or to get, if they're doing RESPs, maybe a little bit more grant room for RESPs. So they might say, if I put X amount in, while I have emergency money over here, so it's money I'm definitely not going to touch, I could lower my net income and get more money back from child tax from the government and also have a little bit more bonus from them for the RESP. So it really depends on each situation, right? So again, as I said, it depends. It just depends on where someone is in their life and their experiences thus far, and then what makes sense for what they want to do going forward.
Okay, makes sense. Got it. And I mean, I guess I can think of I mean, for myself, I have all three, and I've had bad experience with RSP before in the past, right? But I mean, I still know the benefits of RSP. So I decided that, yeah, I'm going to need some RSP. And then for TFSA for me, because it's so flexible, I think it's important. And life insurance, I mean, everybody needs insurance, but I thought I'd take the insurance that have some cash value if I'm going to do insurance at all, right? Everybody is different. I mean, there are some persons who say, you know, what's the point of having, why can't you just do a term insurance and then you can save, you know? So for those, you know, there are people who have that discipline that can do their saving outside of that. Everybody is different, right? Even people who have discipline will still take life insurance. As you know, in infinite banking, I know they talk about how you can build wealth through using the cash value insurance, right? So, I mean, if there are people who have questions on that, you know, I mean, Glenn, I guess you can always answer those questions, right, on that. I mean, I don't want to go too much into that because we just want to pretty much just compare where to put your money, right? The benefits and the pros and cons. I don't know if you've covered all the pros and cons as it relates to TFSA, RSP, cash value insurance. But I'm thinking that if there's something that we didn't cover, if there are persons who want to know more, please just put your questions in the comments, right? And we can actually deal with that as we go along. I mean, because I mean, this series is always going along. We're discussing money. We're discussing how to handle your money, budgeting, everything to do with money. So we're always discussing it. So it's always evergreen here on this channel. So you can always put that question anytime. Whenever you're watching these videos, just pop your comments in and we will take a look at it and we'll respond to it. So Glenn, did you have anything else to add last minute?
No, I was going to say, Genese, I could take an hour and go down each of these topics, right? And a scenario like I just gave, I could also take an hour and show why each situation is short, midterm, long term. The key is this: there are a variety of instruments. We have to figure out what makes sense for your situation and then act accordingly. It's that simple.
All right. So, I mean, to close off, I would just give you the invitation: book a no obligation call with Glenn. You have questions, you want to have something more customized to your care, and you're not sure, you know, does this work for me? Should I do insurance, or should I do insurance and TFSA, or should I do all three, insurance, TFSA, RSP? You know what, just book that call. I mean, you have nothing to lose, but you have more to gain. So I'm inviting you today. Just book that call. It's for your good. Get some more information, educate yourself, and see where it takes you from there. And for today, I mean, that's all we have for today. And as I say, feel free to reach out to us and we will see you next time. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, guys. Take care.